Jim wrote a book called Grow, in which he analyzed 50,000 brands, actually Millward Brown data, and found that the fastest growing brands, the fastest growing 50 of the 50,000, all had a common characteristic. They are idealistic brands who define their job as making the world better for their customers. Isn't that a remarkable finding? 400% better growth than the norm. What are the implications of Jim's finding? In 2020, what if every advertiser, every brand got the message of Jim's book? What could they do? They could make the products better. That seems to be a central feature. They could do a better job making their employees happier. Advertising, let's just take the 30-second TV commercial, doesn't always have to be what we call advertising. A brand, let's say Bounty, could bring a 30-second mini program brought to you by Bounty into people's lives. Depending on the value of it, how good it was, it could have an effect even greater, perhaps, than the effect of an ad that maybe has the same message they've heard over and over and already know the message. I'm happy that the word authenticity was used many times today, and in connection with the problem of distrust, advertiser distrust, distrust of advertisers, conspiracy theory, cynicism. These are all pandemic human feelings in the world of accelerated change and confusion. I have a friend who's a copywriter who uses the phrase mask of the advertiser to describe the kind of fakeness of most, or much at least, advertising. And the consumer really reacts to the idea of something genuine coming from an advertiser, something human, as opposed to something kind of slick and basically non-authentic. Cause advertising, cause marketing is still a very small fragment of the $140 billion worth of paid media advertising. It's about $1 billion, and it's not growing that fast. And yet, if you think about cause and think about possible gamification aspects, possible social media aspects, there's a world of things that could be done by brands that would involve doing things better for the customer, for the world. That same copywriter who used the phrase mask of the advertiser, his name is Nick Pisacani, always ties his ads to something bigger. So he had a furniture advertiser, and he didn't tie the ad to just furniture, he tied it to the meaning of home. True sponsorship is a term I guess I coined. And today the phrase would be custom content. And here's an example of custom content on the internet or true sponsorship. In my definition, there's no advertising in it. It isn't 20% advertising, it's 0% advertising. There's no pitch whatsoever, no pitch. So and this is one case. And I reported 28 studies, different brands, ranging from Ford, Procter & Gamble, lots of different brands, in an article in the Journal of Advertising Research in December of 2006. Across these 28 studies, the average persuasion effect, measured in a way kind of similar to the way copy test measurement measures persuasion, this form of sponsorship where there's no hard sell, there's no sell at all, you're just bringing content designed to be of value to human beings, has on average 7 times the sales effect of the average 30-second TV commercial, 7 times the persuasion effect by not having any attempt at persuasion. This is one case. In this case, Volvo, without any advertising, sponsored in 2003 coverage for 2 weeks of the Javits annual auto show. And in doing so, you saw on every page you looked at, brought to you by Volvo for life, actually, is what it said, on pages filled with advertising for all of Volvo's competitors. Every now and then it was a page that had a Volvo thing on it, but mostly it was Volvo bringing you news about Audi and Chevrolet and BMW and Mercedes and everyone else. So the subliminal communication there must have been something like, wow, This is a brand that's confident. This is a brand that doesn't feel it has to pull the wool over my eyes, persuade me, beat me over the head. So confident they're showing me all their competitors. At any rate, whatever the underlying gratitude effect was, the control group, which was, this was 2003, when you could use intercepts, when we got, instead of a 0.2% response rate to intercepts, we got a 13% response rate to intercepts back in 2003. And we used the pure control group. It wasn't a judgment control group. It was AB, absolute random split. So, and after seeing either the coverage, Yahoo's coverage of the auto show brought to you by Volvo or in the control group, no sponsor. Those were the two conditions. The people who saw no sponsor, when asked what brands of car are you considering for your next car, 1.6% mentioned Volvo. The people who had seen Volvo doing this unusual thing, it was 7.7%. Another interesting case was Carnation Instant Baby Formula, whose site, which is all about taking care of your baby, recommended breastfeeding over the use of any baby formula. Another trying to be good as opposed to make a pitch. So what are we doing about it? I haven't mentioned TRA in this slide, but TRA is doing something about it in a kind of a distant way. TRA was the first company to apply big data to the measurement of advertising ROI using single source. Several companies, including Kantar, are now doing that. And that creates an environment in which you can actually, for the first time, measure the ROI of different things. So you could measure the ROI of this approach, and we would suggest that people do that. Try doing things that involve cause marketing, true sponsorship, gamification, and social, versus BAU, business as usual. I've also got a company called Bill Harvey Consulting, which is working with individual brands along the same lines of movement towards the Jim Stengel ideal. I've also got a nonprofit 501c3 called Human Effectiveness Institute, whose main mission is to help people get into the flow state, the zone. But we're also developing some programs that advertisers might want to sponsor. A thing called the Democracy Channel, a thing called Local Heroes, a thing called Mind Massage, which is very close to our flow state work. What we think people could do to move further to the Jim Stengel future is perhaps the Ad Council, who's connected with a lot of philanthropic causes, could get behind this general idea, working with the 4As, ANA and ARF. Wharton and its many esteemed colleagues, the ARF, the CRE, Ehrenberg Bass, and so on, could get into the measurement of what these effects are, and Karl Marcy could as well. Underneath the surface of the higher ROI and the faster brand growth, what are the underlying emotional mechanisms? Thank you.
Thank you.